Hello Trainer Sons, it's me, KyoK, here with a Agnes Tachyon Haru / Unity Cup run. I'm borrowing a 9-star power plus I think an 8-star medium guest parent, and I'm using my Maru, which has 8 blue sparks and also 8 medium. So going all in on medium here. If I wanted a true high roll, you could throw in some turf sparks as well to go for the SS, but that would take a bit more grinding to get double lucky. This is my free-to-play deck that I used for the run. This is actually the first time I got to use my Max Limit Break Windy card, since just before this I rolled 200 pulls on the Fuku banner and got nothing besides one Windy copy, which was enough for me to use my SR gem to finish maxing her out. So yeah, my second SR gem. The first one was used to max out Sweep Tosho, and now I have a maxed Windy, which is pretty much the second best SR speed card you can get, which is very good for free-to-players like me. I am running 3 speed, 1 power, 1 wit, plus Rico. Normally this wouldn't be enough for a medium Uma unless you went really hard with stamina parents, but Agnes Tachyon does have a good stamina recovery unique skill, so you are allowed to have lower stamina than normal, which is really nice. It lets me focus my parent sparks on power instead of stamina. Overall, this run had pretty good luck, I would say. A lot of rainbows that even surprised me, especially towards the end where you need them the most. So combine that with some pretty decent skills and an S and medium, and I got myself a pretty strong medium team trials Uma, for the last 1 month of Unity Cup where it's relevant. Because in about 1 month, we are getting the 3rd new scenario, Make a New Track. And it's definitely controversial. Make a New Track is when a lot of people on JP stopped playing because for a couple of different reasons. I've thought about it a bit. I think a lot of it comes to it being that Make a New Track is a high effort scenario. It relies a lot on taking time between turns to plan out how to use the currency shop that gets introduced. So it's a lot of stopping in between trainings to plan things out, and that really adds up to the amount of time it takes, and it's also a lot of effort to get a optimal Make a New Track Uma. But that being said, if you do take the effort to make Scenario 3 Umas, they are quite strong, like noticeably stronger than what we currently have. Just like how Unity Cup was a big leap in power compared to the URA scenario. But combine the high effort required with extra time taken, plus that we've already had a new scenario, so that new excitement is kind of not there anymore compared to Unity Cup. And yeah, it's not hard to imagine why some people would stop playing the game. Because once you've experienced the fresh things in a game, it does start to become a chore. Particularly for gacha games. I know, I've played a lot of gacha games. I've quit a lot of gacha games. I did fail this training here. So it wasn't a perfect run, I'll say, but you do gotta take some risks to get some rewards. And I've been taking some pretty big risks on my Unity Cup runs now. Like, I'll do 20% failures, 25%, sometimes I do like 40 or 50% if I think it's really good. And when your Uma lineup is stacked out, I think if you want to improve, then you have to take those pretty big risks with the big rewards to push you past the Umas that you already have. Yeah, to quickly go back to the run, for her first fan goal, I recommend running her in the Hopeful Stakes. For fan goals, you pretty much always want to run G1s for them if you can, because they just give you more for essentially the same amount of energy required to win them. They are a bit harder to win. You do need better stats compared to G2s or G3s, but I think most people right now are experienced enough to know when they have a general idea of if they'll be able to win a G1 race. And Agnes Tachyon, with her 20% speed training bonus, makes getting her speed up a breeze. 20% speed Umas are really just easy mode compared to Umas without speed bonuses, and I love them for it. I wish every Uma could be 20% speed. makes capping out speed very easy, and it also allows you to use those extra turns you save from doing more speed trainings to flesh out your stamina or power or wit. Combine that with Agnes Tachyon's rather consistent stamina unique skill, and you've got a career that is pretty chill and not overly difficult to make good. Agnes Tachyon is a very good Team Trials Uma because of that, which is nice. Shout out to Kafuka, the #1 Agnes Tachyon enjoyer I know in my server. I think he's the first one I personally know that got the expert title for their Oshi Uma, which is 100 million fans for that Uma. So shout out to Oshi players. But yeah, to quickly go over Agnes Tachyon's secret events. Her first one happens at the Satsuki show. Basically, you need her mood to be at least good or great, or else she mental booms and changes her career to a mild G1, which is not what you want because she does not have a mild aptitude by default. So if you can't avoid that, I would say try your best. Get her mood up before Satsuki show and you'll get to run in the derby instead. Her second secret event is to win the Triple Crown, which is Satsuki show, the Japanese derby, and the Kika show. If you didn't mental boom your Agnes, then she races in all of these 3 tracks naturally in her career, and hopefully you win those because you get a bit of stats and a skill hint for Tactical Tweak, which is not a very reliable acceleration skill, but hey, free all stats is free all stats. First inspiration event. Our parents are pretty stacked, so gold inspirations are not too hard to come by. We get a double S upgrade, which is, I guess, not crazy considering we have, I think, 16 medium sparks on this run. Getting that S in medium means that this is a potentially really good run, and this is when you lock in. Yeah. Since Agnes has great mood here, she did not mental boom, and we're running in the Japanese derby as normal. So while you look at my above average rainbow luck, I guess I can talk about my thoughts on the scenario. Yeah, Unicup. It was, looking back, Unicup is a pretty good scenario, especially for the average player. I think it's a good introduction to what a new scenario can bring. It has a pretty interesting gimmick, which is the team formation aspect of Unicup. And overall, I think it's kind of thematically cool to assemble a bunch of Umas, ones that aren't even in the game yet technically, to join you. It makes you feel like a Tracen Academy trainer with your team, which I think is pretty cool. Unicup is also pretty low effort in terms of the amount of time it takes. It's not really that much longer than the URA. It's mainly that you have to pick between the Unicup races once every 12 turns, which is not really a hard decision because you're mostly picking between 1 out of 2 options anyways. And I suppose the flame system adds a little bit of thought to your run where you'll have to plan out, where you'll have to balance flames and natural bonds and rainbows, which is an interesting aspect of this scenario. I think by now, most people will have a general idea of how to prioritize rainbows versus flames, and they'll have a pretty decent chance at winning against Zenith at the end. But even though I say that, I still lose against Zenith like somewhat frequently, especially when I'm focusing on rainbows over flames. But that is all alright. In the end, I still would rather prefer having stronger stats from rainbows over beating Zenith. So even though I sometimes lose, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's just a few stats and I guess the no stopping me skill, which is something I pick up pretty often when I don't have anything better to pick up acceleration wise. Overall, yeah, I think people will look on Unicup fondly. It added a nice twist to the URA format. It wasn't too hard to pilot, and it gave meaningful stat increases. So overall, a pretty good scenario. Make a new track is pretty rough when it comes to the amount of planning you have to do between turns. Like, you really need to maximize your item usage in Make a New Track, and that just takes a lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and a lot of time when you're navigating between menus all the time. But in the end, you do get some pretty strong Umas. And yes, it is power creep, but power creep is something that gacha games need for them to stay alive. I know it feels kind of bad when you have to remake all your Umas, but it's something that is a necessary evil for the sake of the game. Because once you get high roll versions of all your Umas and there was no way to improve them over time, then there really wouldn't be any meaningful reason to continue playing the game. So scenarios are very important, in my opinion, to keep the game fresh. And I do think that even a tedious scenario like Make a New Track is still overall a net gain for the game. Although I do have some criticisms with it. It definitely could have been implemented better. I would also really like to see the auto functionality get added. I think that would remove a lot of the tediousness from Make a New Track. If you could auto your daily runs instead of having to manually go through and do this interfacing and item opti and all that. Because sometimes when I sit down and do an Uma run, I'm not trying to make the best Uma of all time. I just want to throw in something for my daily missions and hopefully get a decent parent out of it for the future. But yeah, that'd be number one on my wish list, the auto function. Will it happen? I don't know, but it would be really nice if they did add it. Surely they had data from the other servers and saw the pretty steep drop in players during Make a New Track, so that they'll be able to use that clairvoyance to make our experience better on global. Because surely global Uma got popular enough to fund the extra work required, right? Surely. They did spoil us with those early balance changes, like making guts good and all those skill upgrades and buffs, which is nice. That made the game a lot of fun compared to what the past server's experience was. Yeah, regardless of what happens, I will still be doing my runs, uploading some interesting footage for you guys, adding my commentary over it. Sometimes it'll be about the game, sometimes it'll just be about whatever I'm thinking about at the time. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in anyways. Like, at this point, I don't think many people are watching for guidance on how to play Unity Cup when there's only a few weeks left of the scenario. So if you are watching, it'd be for me, I suppose, which is honestly kind of flattering. So shout out to you. Also, shout out to Agnes Tachyon for this pretty crazy run. So on the final year here, my power is really high. My stamina is a bit low. My wit could use some help too. So I'm mainly trying to prioritize getting my speed capped and putting some extra in stamina. I did say that her ult lets you have less stamina, but you still need at least a decent amount for the longer medium tracks, or, you know, in case your ult fails to proc. Yeah, this run ended up finishing out pretty strong, which is rare, because most of the time when you have a really good start, it falls off really hard. Especially near the end where it runs out of gas, you get no rainbows, but this started off pretty good and ended up even stronger, which is the dream, you know? Yeah, I don't really know how I ended up with this much power with only one power card. I mean, I guess it's not that crazy considering I have a decent amount of power sparks on my parents. But yeah, I guess all of this is really enabled by getting to not run any stamina cards because of her unique. Final Unity Cup showdown, and we do win, which I was a little nervous about because we weren't doing a lot of flame training near the end. It was mostly hitting those rainbows and fixing our stats up. But we got there. We got basically every stat to a point where I was satisfied with. We ended up with a medium S and some decent skills. So on this last turn here, I'm thinking, do I really need even more power? Like, it's getting a little too much at this point. But with the flame burst, I guess, it was mostly for the stamina that I clicked the power button again. Yippee! Agnes Tachyon. This was actually a scenario record for my account. Which is impressive because normally you get that from wit maxing, and I got it from power maxing apparently, so pretty interesting. Definitely got a lot of stats here. Yeah, these are the skills I bought. All around, I think they are pretty good. And boom, 15.4k S rank. Agnes Tachyon, 1-star wits. It's always 1-star. And all around a very solid build. 683 stam is a bit low, so I did get one extra stamina skill, silver stamina skill, to, you know, make sure she doesn't die. And here is her first run in team trials. So in her team trial debut, she absolutely smoked the competition and gave me a ton of points here. So a very strong first showing as a team trial Uma, and I will have her on my medium team for the next few weeks until I remake it, eventually when the Make a New Track comes out. Yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys a lot. Make sure to give your Umas a lot of head pats, even though Agnes Tachyon, I think, would canonically probably be the one head patting me instead. Regardless, she doesn't have that power currently, so I will be head patting her. Yeah, I'll see you guys around. I'm working on 2 pretty big Uma video projects out that I am pretty excited about. One of them has been taking a while, one of them is pretty new, but I think that it will be a pretty interesting watch, so subscribe if you're interested in it. Yeah, take care and I'll see you around.
中距離レースのチーム代表戦を制したのはアグネス・タキヨン。
これが研究の成果さ。私たちの勝利ね。新しい情報が届いたね。確認してくれたの。私気分コスタント私イベントでも君が担当さっきたでボケていきどうコスでボケタキヨンとは君探求私